In our episode of Letters of African Journalists, Joseph Warungu reflects on the distress of supporters of Kenya opposition lead Raila Odinga next his conciliation recent monthly in his painful competing, CEO Uhuru Kenyatta. One of the games I enjoyed a lot in my infancy was named Kauka in Kiswahili, that approximately translates as freeze over. The concept was, you would go on yours regular industry before yours act affiliate shouted freeze over. The team constrained you to halt corpse in the medium of everything you were making, and hold really yet before yours boyfriend unfroze thou. The policy was to capture you in an very uncomfortable, confusing or inconvenient time, such as possessing yours jaw broad outdoor in houseflies soaring neighboring. Sadly several, froze thou, later forgot to give you behind to lifetime. The is which ex-main secretary Raila Odinga has made to his enormous troop of loyalist supporters. Though recent monthly's social shake hands signified a policy respite among Mr. Odinga, and his arch-rival CEO Uhuru Kenyatta, and driven tranquility and a feeling of ease in Kenya next recent years' contested elections, opposition supporters include been iced with March 9 and are wait for a mark of their lead. Joseph Warungu. He's been 8 months now and Mr. Odinga is yet to thaw his supporters of the sex temperance. They've belted their loins, wait for a mark. Raila Odinga, whose supporters affectionately urge him Ram, is a wizard policymaker and a great policy mobilizer. An engineering by learning, he as well has a profound insight of humane system. He has following all been arrested for year and consumable period in expulsion for his indefatigable chase of more democratic reforms, liberty and equity for Kenyans. He can gathering millions to any reason and hold the pulse before his purpose is reached. But he occasionally forgets to thaw his backers, each while the purpose is reached or while down there is a flash changing of schedule. In medium July recent year, fair a few days to the general poll, he requested his supporters to freeze over all sex operation before following the poll. He was cited in the regional print proverb, all females should reject their husband's marital rights on the eve of vote. The will provide how we wake up previous to voice and stay watchful before the results are tallied and announced later. You can include sex to commemorate win. To lot of his dead hard fans, the vet lead's speech is act. So it is secure to suppose conjugal beds were corpse quiet in big swathes of the nation. And we're speaking lot beds, taking into account the reality how in the recent 3 president elections with 2007, the opposition lead formally controlled to win nearly part of the full votes throw. In the contentious August 2017 poll, Win didn't go as expected, and he boycotted the reiterate poll in October, disputing how out of specific key reforms in the election framework, down there was no perspective of a plausible survey. So it has been 8 months now and Mr. Odinga is yet to thaw his supporters of the sex temperance. They've belted their loins, wait for a mark. He as well effectively mobilized his supporters to boycott the reiterate poll and they obediently obeyed. One week following Mr. Kenyatta was proclaimed victor of how other poll, Mr. Odinga announced a schedule of economical boycott resembling of how versus apartheid Southward Africa. He mentioned 3 visible companies, amongst other, how his supporters should oppose, consisting the dominating portable telephone carrier, Safaricom. He saw the as a secure way for his human beings to problem Mr. Kenyatta's legality. 5 months after, several of his supporters are yet resistance the means and services of the AIM companies, wait for a mark to halt the boycott. And now down there's the renowned shake hands of world among Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Odinga, that both have introduced as a character of oneness. The shake hands was iced in period in newspapers about the planet, but opposition supporters were leftward partly embarrassed. Should they as well include been trembling hands in their neighbors who supporting the steering anniversary side? Which on such who had lose favorite ones in the poll abuse, how do they tremble off their ache? The some 3 leaders of the opposition coalition Domestic Excellent Association, NASA, were trapped by surprise party while they saw Mr. Odinga on the stairs of the CEO's formal office space in Mr. Kenyatta in tow. They didn't get the precautionary how it was period to hug the by the government how they had been fight. One assumes the 3 are now walk on asexual, impotent and Odinga less. Of his lot supporters, one man has particularly incurred Miguna, an abrasion and vocals attorney and a personality-styled general of the Domestic Impedance Motion, NRM, and lead startup by NASA to contrast Mr. Kenyatta's chairmanship, has been in arrest and exile. Mr. Miguna took portion in the scoff-cursing of Mr. Odinga as the folk CEO. General Miguna, who holds double Kenya and Canada ethnicity, has 2 times been violently expelled of Kenya in authorities' proverb he is now a individual of Canada. The government has told how Mr. Miguna is not a individual of Kenya and will include to use to receive the benefit. He too didn't get the mark of Mr. Odinga how things include modified and how all commanders of the NRM should be decommissioned. Sames now fight alone fight in the migration bush to be permitted behind in the nation. Really Mr. Odinga's supporters are yet wait for a mark on the real importance of his now renowned shake hands in his former policy retribution, was it made for private or domestic concern? Before they get an reply, they'll stay iced. More than of Joseph Warungu.